just for the people that maybe couldn't make it tonight. But I appreciate each and every one of you for showing up. I know you could be doing lots of things tonight. You could be with your kids, with your grandkids, with your spouse, fishing, maybe on a boat, maybe doing something a lot more fun than being with us. But I want to make it worth your time. So hopefully we make it a little fun. Hope we could learn quite a bit too, and go over some things that can help you in your health. Let's get rolling. A few things that we need to talk about. And this is our small time that we have together here. I hope to get you a lot of things that are valuable. One, I want you to become aware of what mold symptoms are so you can know them. Two, how to mold proof your home as best we can in this small amount of time here. Three, how to naturally heal from mold toxicity, or at least give you a pretty good framework of what it entails. And four, what are some tests? Everyone always asks that. What are the best tests for my body and for my home? So we're going to go over all this. I'm excited to share all this with you. So if you don't know my story, this was me when I was a kid. I was super active. I did all the stuff. Um, Wakeboarding, snowboarding, soccer, basketball, baseball. This was me. Actually, fun fact, my grandpa owned a driving range. I was the guy that drove around in the little cart that people shot balls at all day. And it was actually super cool gig. But side note, this was me. I was super active until I wasn't. And this trailer here, this was similar to a trailer we had stayed in at the lake. And if you know anything about trailers, trailers can be notorious for mold. So my story started falling apart when I was 13. I started getting really bad pain all over my body, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. We went to, doctors, MDs, physical therapists, and they're like, I don't know, pulled muscle or something. Although the pain was all over my body, couldn't figure it out. Few years later, started getting headaches, which progressed into terrible, debilitating migraines. And maybe you've experienced this before too, but it's not fun to be just trapped in your room for days at a time. And then a year later, I remember on my 17th birthday, I started getting vertigo, which is just insane dizziness where you feel the world is literally like flipping you upside down. I remember just puking everywhere. And we were scared. Right? We like, do I have a brain tumor? Do I have cancer? Like, gosh, what is happening and how are we going to fix this? So all we knew was the conventional medical model. And what happens was I was kept getting more sick and more sick and more sick. I gained, over 50 pounds. Um, my gut issues led me in the ER. I had such terrible anxiety that I didn't leave my house. I was so scared of when I left my house, what was going to happen to me. Just complete irrational fears. So I barely made it through high school. I limped through. The doctors put me on 5 medications because they couldn't figure out. They ran all the tests in the world that they said were the best tests. And they said it's probably in my head and that I should just go home. So they essentially left me for dead. And it wasn't until later where I found these really great docs who helped me figure out, the body's meant to heal. You're meant to be vibrant and healthy. And if you're not, that means something is in the way. How do we take away that thing that is in the way? And praise God, I worked through all these things. And I went from not being able to work out, like literally laying on my couch, never leaving my house, scared of everything, to not only healing myself, but becoming a healer. And this is not to brag, this is to give the power to the amazing ability the body has to heal and repair if you give it the right circumstance. And a lot of time that is what can we take away that shouldn't be. Here I'm surfing with my little kiddo, Gus. And we had the best time all summer, just running around and doing all the fun stuff. So I'm sure all you know this because you've been up to date, that the majority of Americans are sick, man, really sick. 70% of Americans have a chronic disease. That's astronomical. Half of all kids, almost half kids have a chronic illness. Almost half of the country have some kind of inflammatory disease, autoimmune disease, Lyme, um, POTS, mast cell activation, the list goes on and on. And there's been a 300% increase in autoimmunity just the past few decades. So I don't know about you, I'm not standing for this. Something has to change. Well, what the heck is driving all this? I think I think the toxic epidemic has a big part of this. I really, really do. So if you walk into your medical doctor and you say, "Doc, I've got brain fog. I'm tired. My hormones are crazy. My guts whacked out. I've got anxiety, they would look at you just like this picture right here. They would say, I think you're making all that up. And actually, I just listened to a podcast with Dave Asprey, and he said he had a medical doctor on, and they said, we're trained in medical school that if someone comes in with over 3 symptoms, that they are a hypochondriac and we dismiss them out of our clinic. And that's the extent of conventional medicine today. That's the state that we're in because this crazy inflammatory autoimmune type process that we're getting from these toxins is not showing up in the medical books. It doesn't follow the script. So it's outside the box and we don't know how to treat it. So, what I've picked up over the years, and this is out of necessity. Remember, I was extremely sick, didn't want to be on the planet anymore. God, take me. I'm gone. I can't do this every day. To wow, on fire for helping people work through this stuff. So it's been of necessity, not of, hey, I just like reading books. So these are the three big things that I've seen when it comes to people's health that are the three biggest things that have a profound effect, either negatively or positively. So one is emotion. So this is all the stuff that you've been through since you've been in the womb. So stressors, traumas, anytime your nervous system has been severely stressed out, it imprints an emotion in your body. Many times these emotions, we tag feelings and beliefs onto them. Like, oh my gosh, I ate this thing one time and oh my gosh, my parents were so mad, and you tie fear to that thing you ate. Or I went to kindergarten and the first day I was so excited and no one would play for me. And then in my head, I created a belief of I can't trust them or I can't trust myself. So these emotions imprint in your subconscious. It sounds really woo woo. I've seen the most incredible turnarounds when people are able to address their emotions. Number two would be infections, chronic infections, not like a cold or flu, right? These are chronic infections that we see people have for years and even decades. So this could be viral infections rampant up and down. Lyme is a very big one that I've seen lately. Parasitic infections, my gosh, parasites are usually there to soak up all the toxins. Same thing with fungus. You can have sinus infections, you can have UTIs. All these things are kind of under the radar, but stress your body to the max. And then three would be toxins. So that is heavy metals, mercury in your mouth, aluminum in your soil from the things that are sprayed in the sky. Can't say this might be on YouTube. But there actually are bills now in Congress to stop them spraying chemicals in the sky, which was a conspiracy theory about 1 year ago. But here we are. I digress. The toxins in our food. The average American consumes over a credit card's worth of plastic each week. BPAs, and the list goes on and on. But mold is something that really sticks out for me, has really been causing a big issue. So everything's connected. This sort of conventional medicine gets it all wrong. We know, you know, that all the stuff's connected. Genetics have a tiny play in your health. Environment. It's one of the biggest things I've been seeing. So the house that you live, the water you drink, the air you breathe. These are just some of the symptoms here that I put together. And mold is kind of unique in that it can affect so many different body systems. And I'll show you how in just a minute. But mold is a fat soluble toxin. It likes to embed itself in fat. What is made of mostly fat? Your brain. Your brain is 70% fat. So what these mycotoxins do, they can cross the blood-brain barrier and literally get lodged in the brain. Once they're in the brain, they can cause brain inflammation. They can even cause brain atrophy, brain shrinkage. And then they can also cause an imbalance of like your dopamine, your serotonin. That's where people just feel maybe they're irritable, maybe they have rage, maybe they can't remember things, brain fog. And these are all symptoms of mold. And of course, when the brain can't signal hormones, you're going to have sex drive issues and energy and drive issues. Your gut is the biggest reservoir in the body. And many times people have fungal infections in their gut due to mold. I've had so many people come in and they've got bloating, they got gas, maybe pain, constipated, and we'll do a typical, let's say, gut protocol. After a month, they're still not any better. And I'm coming back and saying, okay, what did we miss? Oh my gosh, we missed mold. And once we bind up the mold toxins, get them out of there, they can clear up. That's a big, big deal. So if you have any gut issues that are unresolved, you can't get over them, I would look at mold. Your immune system's affected. I'll show you how later. but essentially mold lowers your immune system so you can get sick easier. Your skin is just a reflection of inside of your body. Of course, lungs, estimated up to 40% of all asthma cases are due directly to mold. Other potential red flags would be like nosebleeds. Do you have nosebleeds? That could be a mold issue, releasing histamine and heparin in the nose, and you're actually bleeding. Other thing would be like fast weight gain or loss. For me, I gained a ton of weight, and that was due to leptin resistance, which I'll show you later. Sinus issues also. One of these studies showed that 93% of all people, if they had chronic sinus infections, is due to fungal and mold issues, not bacteria. So antibiotics aren't fixing the problem. Yeah. So if you thought or researched this before, or if you talk to people about it, maybe they're like, you sound crazy. Like that sounds weird. I don't think mold toxicity is a thing. I don't know why you feel bad. I don't feel bad. My kid doesn't feel bad. A lot of times I see this, it's the husband where the wife is like, hey, I want to get this checked out. I am kind of sick. The kids are not, something's not right. And the husband's like, I don't know. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of peer-reviewed studies about mold, how it affects the body, how it causes neurological damage, neuropathy, autoimmune disease, POTS, chronic fatigue syndrome, sinus infections, allergies, asthma, and the list goes on and on. So I'm not here just making stuff up. Um, it's actually a thing. So I want to give you a few case studies as we go through this too, just so you don't fall asleep, one, but two, it's proof that you could see like, oh, people actually have gone through this stuff, maybe just like me. And it is possible to get better. So this kid, I think was 10 or 11 when I saw him. And you can see on the right here, the family documented all of his, they call it glitches. They were seizures, actually. So he was having seizures almost every week. And what we did, we ended up doing a mycotoxin test. This is a urine test. And you can actually pick up toxins that you pee out of the body. Pretty cool. It's a really easy test for people to do. Even kids can do it. And on the right here, you can see his first levels, this 858. This is called gliotoxin. It's a, you don't have to remember the name, but gliotoxin literally means brain toxin. It is a toxic mold specifically on the nervous system. And this is just after we reduced it from here to here. He was seizure free. And the last I checked, he's been seizure free for over 1,000 days. Pretty incredible. Again, if you just remove what shouldn't be there, allow the inflammation to come down, the body could rock it. It's so cool. This is actually a family I saw, and they came in with like 3 of their kids came in, and some of the kids had gut issues, some of them had attention issues, some of them had sinus issues, even like wetting the beds at night, like teenager kids. And so I was like, that's interesting. I really want to get like what's going on in your home. So they got an inspector. I work with an inspector closely here in St. Louis, and I'll show you how to find inspectors later. And inspector is a gold standard because they can listen to your case. They can walk around your home inside and outside. They can take tests like this. And as you see here, they can pull up the carpet. How would you even notice these things? So on the top right here, this is their office, innocuous enough, and they pick this up here. And on the tack strip, you can see the mold growth. So that's on the subfloor and the tack strip. And actually under it here, this is right below it, there's water damage too. And what they did, they actually opened up the wall. The wall was full of mold, and those mycotoxins can and do cause issues, even if they're behind the wall. And what happened was the exterior was leaking into, so they're actually getting the exterior fixed, cleaned out all the mold here, and they're already doing much, much better, which is awesome. So cool to see. So why is mold a problem today? You've heard this, mold's been around forever. Yes, it has. And mold in the wild, not a big deal. Not a big deal. Where we've gone awry today is a few things. One of them I want to talk about is EMFs. So we are exposed to literally millions times more radiation than we were 30 years ago. That's astronomical. So Dr. Klinghardt, he's a researcher and doctor. What he did a study. He's like, I want to figure out what happens when mold is exposed to these EMFs. What he found was these mold particles that could replicate it and became more toxic up to 600 times. So you add in radiation, you add that more toxic the mycotoxins become, and then we'll talk about this next one here, the building practices. So this was about 1979-ish. A lot of building practices in America changed, and we went to more energy efficient, more tight housing. So think of it like this: you're building a home, you got the foundation poured. They come sit out the plywood, the 2x4s, the framing, the rafters, all the stuff. And it sits on the elements for weeks, maybe even months, rain, snow, sleet, all the stuff. So it's soaked in all this moisture. And then you put it in the home and then you tighten it all in where it can't breathe at all. And then you add in, whoop, you flip on your Wi Fi router and your cell phone, and you're essentially creating potentially a mold factory in your home. Not only that, we're using fungicides on our paint, which actually leads to more mycotoxin growth. And then drywall is just, it's like mold food, man. So a lot of this too is dirty gene. I call it dirty gene. So the more toxins we're exposed to, like if we're exposed to 50 toxins, we can't get rid of all of them at once. So the toxin estimation is anywhere from 100,000 to 100 million chemicals have been introduced the past 100 years or so. And we don't really know because none of them have been studied for safety. So we don't know how these are interacting with our body. All we know is we're exposed to way more pesticides, way more vaccines, way more heavy metals, way more plastics. So our body's already dealing with so much other stuff that when you add in something like mold, which is a toxin, man, that's really hard to keep up and do that. Here are just a few myths. And I see these all the time, like, oh, mildew isn't harmful. Mildew is actually, it's 100% a mold and it can be very harmful. Bleach, never use bleach for mold. It's a water-based. You can make some of the cells go dormant for a bit. Long run, those can be actually more virulent because when mold feels under attack, when these mold spores feel like they're under attack, they release their mycotoxins. Those are the things that can make you sick. Air samples always pick up mold. I don't love just an air sample because if you put an air sample in the middle of the room, you may not have got like from that family's the stuff behind the wall, the stuff under the carpet, right at that very moment. Another one, if you're not exposed right now, you're fine. So if you'll see it in a little bit, if you have the genes and you can't filter out mold, it can be in your body for decades until you get rid of these toxins. Everyone responds to mold the same. I'm sure you've seen this before. Maybe you're in a family right now. Maybe you're sick, but your family members feel fine and you feel kind of crazy, like, oh gosh, maybe I am crazy. Everyone's genetics, everyone's toxin load is different. So you respond to mold differently. And a quick detox can fix you. Sometimes quick detoxes can help. They can lower the burden. Long term, staying healthy, I haven't seen that crossover. Let's talk about testing your home. So there's a few things here I want to talk about. I'll start with the actually inspection because the inspection is the gold standard, getting a really good inspector. I will say it's difficult to find a very good inspector who's along the same lines, who will do all the correct testing in order to help you get what you need. I put down here the ICEA organization. They actually have like a find my inspector type database. If you want to look through them, they have a pretty rigorous thing you have to go through in order to get certified. I do like them. But if you're getting an inspector, make sure, like I said, they're going to listen to your story. They're going to walk around outside. They're going to walk around inside. They're going to spend hours there. They're going to pull up stuff. They're going to look behind things. They're going to take surface samples. They can take air samples. A lot goes into it. So that's gold standard. And you'll probably run $1,000-ish or more getting a good inspector. Starting on your own, something like an ERMI test. I like it, and I think that's great information. ERMI is usually around about $250 or so. And it's really a cloth, and you wipe around the dust in your home, and you send it into the lab, and they give you a printout just like this of all the molds that come up, and they give you kind of a total here, 9.9, and you can see where this falls. I like, below 2 or so is pretty safe for me. If it's above 234, this one's 9.9, I would say, hey, we need to look into that for sure. So this is kind of relative to other comments here. This hurts me. This is like the more problematic modes that you can see too. And that if that's elevated, you definitely need to get something checked out. So let's talk about how mold affects the body, because in the next slide, we'll talk about other things we can test. So mold started up in the left-hand corner. Some people, if they have the correct genes, not correct, but if they have certain genes, they can remove mold from the body, create an antibody to it. It leaves, no big deal. Everyone's happy. And that's about 75% of the population, actually. About 24, 25% of us, we're more susceptible. We can't filter it out. So what happens? Our cells become poisoned. And the cell membranes actually, like I said, those mycotoxins can embed in them, and it kind of breaks the cell wall apart. All the bad stuff leaks in, all the good stuff leaks out. And then what happens, we release a ton of inflammation, cytokines, which go to the brain, into the bloodstream, to your gut, and affect your immune system too. So your brain signals all these things: your sleep, your thirst, your weight, your sex hormones, your blood flow changes to your organs so you can feel fatigued. Your immune system gets altered, all due to this. So you can test your body also, right? These are just some of the things you can see on a blood test. So if you go to your doctor and say, hey, I want this blood test to look for mold, they'll look at you like you have 18 heads and say, that's not going to tell you anything, you're crazy. So you know better because you know how the body works. Actually, probably know a little bit more than medical doctors at this point. So things like VIP, brain hormone, VEGF, this is looking at blood flow in the body. Leptin, if your leptin is elevated, it's almost impossible to lose weight. So this is for people that have weight gain. They're like, I've tried everything, I'm working out and eating really good, I can't lose weight. Well, many times if your brain is inflamed and the leptin receptors are all tied up, leptin starts going up, you cannot lose weight. NMP9 tells us if the space in between your cells is all messed up. ADH up here and osmolality, this is kind of like how thick your blood is and if you're peeing a lot or not. C4 and C3, this tells us if it's from water damage or if it's more like infection related from C3. MSH is probably the most important one on here. This regulates the inflammation in the body and hormones. So when it drops, it essentially ties your immune system's hands behind its back. Now you can't control infections and inflammation. So again, these are people like, I've tried so much and I cannot get over this. But many times it's because that inflammation in the brain. You can't get over the hump. This is another test you could do at home, really easy. Visual contrast sensitivity. Here are some of the symptoms from that. And when you have, I can put a link here, it's just vcstest.com. And you're looking at different shapes. And if you fail that test, plus you have 9 out of the 13 boxes here on the symptoms, there's a very high likelihood you have this chronic inflammatory response due to something like mold or Lyme. Many times it's mold though. So this is actually another case study right here. Who's someone who came in, a lot of issues, a lot of gut issues, terrible pain, energy is waning, losing weight, just in a really bad spot. And we're running all these tests to see what's going on. So we did an infection panel and we see, hey, Lyme comes up. Hey, we've got some mold that pops up. We've got some viral and parasite. Let's narrow it down a little bit more here. So we ran that blood work, the C4A, really, really high here. Usually water damage building, your immune system's responding to that. And you see his MSH really low here. So I was like, hey, we got to figure out what's going on in the home. Here's just a few pictures inside the home. So you see top left up here, visible mold on top of this fish tank and water damage behind it. We've got on the baseboards here, can be usually indication of water damage. Behind that, many times there's mold mycotoxins. And in the basement here, we've got mold aspergillus on the plywood. So this is something we're working on with him right now. Is okay, we have to clean up the environment. As you'll see, getting out of the environment is key. You have to do that. Have to get out of the environment. And then the body can start calming down. This is another patient too, so proud of this lady. She came in tons of gut issues, a lot of gut issues, frequent urination, osteoporosis, and she was tired. She was an athlete. And she's like, I gotta get back. And this was just about a month ago. She actually got first place in her triathlon. And we're just ecstatic for her. But you can see this is her ERMI right here. See 9.2. So she's in that higher range here. Her hertz is even higher. And it ended up, they found mold on her AC unit. Is inside blowing mycotoxins everywhere. So we've got that cleaned up. We got her detoxifying mold, and she's already doing so much better. So where does mold hide? And this is actually a study down here from 1994, and they studied thousands of homes, and the conclusion was over 50% of homes in America had active mold issues. My goodness, that is a lot. So where can you check? You can look under your sinks. The most common place mold is bathrooms usually. So showers, bathtubs, sinks, toilets, honestly. But you can look under your bathroom sinks, like under your kitchen sink. You can even get a drip pan that catches water, and you can put like a water meter there that will sound an alarm if water is starting to come in. That's one of the biggest things I've seen. Dishwasher, that's a big one too. Always look out for that. I even open my dishwasher almost all the time. So it's not, you get airflow in there so mold can't grow. Another one is washing machines, especially the front loading washing machines. A lot of times mold will be in those rings. You need to clean that out. Under rugs and carpet, just like we saw with the family. If you just pull up that carpet, you could see all that. Basement, I would say, and some of the stuff you need to maybe set an alarm maybe once a month, maybe once a quarter, and just walk around the house for 15 minutes and just check this stuff out. It will save you a lot of heartache and money later if you catch these things early. But basement is foundation leaks. If you have a sump pump, checking that. Checking the humidity in your basement too. A lot of basements can be kind of musty. And then around your HVAC, like the one we just saw, you have mold blowing. Here's some other risk factors. We talked about some of these. Getting in your attic too, checking for roof leaks. How many people do that ever? Right? But that's like he actually had a colleague of mine. He built a brand new house, huge house. And they moved in. It wasn't even, I think, less than 6 months they moved in. The whole family was severely sick. They actually bought a trailer, moved outside to the trailer, figured out they had mold just everywhere in their attic, brand new build, and they actually tore the house down. It was that bad. So new builds can be just as bad as old houses. I've seen even worse. Even like you see renovated house here. Many times renovated houses, they covered up shady stuff, right? And kind of just plastered some stuff over. So that's always something to look out for. Humidity is an easy thing here. If you have a leak, flood, anything, the biggest thing is you have to get water out and get that humidity down as fast as you can. Anything over 24 hours, standing water and high humidity, you can grow mold. So you can get a humidity reader for $10 on Amazon and check every room in your home and make sure you're around 50 or below. Super easy. I've seen even people like their cars have mold in them. Yeah, these are all things that you can just simply look out for. This is my favorite air purifier right now. We've got one in my son's room and downstairs. I do like it because of the different filters. So HEPA, standard, plus carbon, silver, so antimicrobial, and UV light. And the ionizer sends out ions into the air to trap some of these mold spores to pull them to the ground so then you can vacuum up, get rid of them. Pretty cool. They've got some cool studies on mold and things like that too. I'm a big fan. I think keeping your windows open as much as you can, getting airflow through, and then purifying your air is a must because the number one toxin, the number two, let's say, your water and your air. The biggest one is the air that you breathe every single day. So if you can get that down, specifically for mold, your health can be much, much better. So these are the big 6 things here. The big 6 that you must have if you are going to heal from mold. So if you're going to take any notes, this is a big one right here. So number 1, and this is the number one you have to do first, is getting out of the environment. So If you're still in the environment, it's really hard to heal because your limbic system is the part of the brain that detects am I safe or not, can light up. And actually, some people have been in mold for a long time. Their limbic system is on such high alert that they cannot heal or take supplements or anything until they're out of the environment and they can calm down that firing. So we have to get you out of the environment. And maybe that looks like, you're remediating your home and they're walling it off, keeping it enclosed while you're doing this. Number two is drainage before detox. I love detox, but you got to do drainage. I'll talk about drainage on the next page here. Three is cell support. Remember, molds are fat soluble, they stick in fat. Your cell membranes are fat. That's what they are. So you have to get these good fats that kick off those mycotoxins so your cells and your mitochondria can heal, so you can make energy, so you can feel good. Pretty cool. Binders, number four, of course. Binders are the things that grab hold to the mycotoxins so you can pull them out of the body. If you're really gentle, you can start with fiber, but I love using binders, and it's really need to pull these things out of the body. Five, immune and histamine balance. So if you're just so chronically right on this autoimmune edge or overzealous immune system or histamine all the time, you have to get that under control or your symptoms won't go down. And then lastly, infections. If there are infections due to the mold, like fungus, parasites, candida, we've got to get those as well. So I told you I'd talk about drainage before detox. And I've talked about this ad nauseum for 6 or 7 years. So drainage are all the pathways out of the body. Can stuff leave? So it's like, okay, we have this bathtub here, and we want to fill it with a bunch of great herbs and things that make you feel good, but the drain is clogged. Well, it's just going to overflow and spill everywhere and cause a big issue. This is saying, can things leave through your bowels, through your kidneys, through your sweat, through your breath? That's the biggest thing. So yeah, if you go in and it's like, hey, I'm gonna do a mold detox, but you're not pooping every day, you're gonna feel like crap. If you're not sweating, you might feel like crap. If you're not hydrated and able to fill your kidneys, you probably feel like crap. But a lot of what we do is opening up drainage first so people can get rid of the mycotoxins. These are probably my favorite products I use for mold. So going from left to right here, PC is phosphatidylcholine. It's a mouthful. Think of PC is the same fat that surrounds your cells. We just talked about this, how we need to heal the cells. PC forms a new barrier around your cells, helps them heal, and actually kicks off mycotoxin. It helps with your brain also because your brain is fat, and helps heal your gut too. Amazing must-have supplement, and a lot of cool anecdotal evidence for this, for taking PC for a year plus, able to really heal these tissues. Quercetin is a great antihistamine, a natural antihistamine. So those, if you're stuck on Benadryl, Zyrtec, Allegra, Claritin, oh my gosh, I can't keep my symptoms under control. Many times when we do this, we can move people to a natural antihistamine like quercetin that stabilizes mast cells from spitting out histamine in the first place. Pretty cool. Carboxynol, that's a binder. And what it does, it helps to grab hold to mycotoxins and other biotoxins in the body and escorts them out. This is a very powerful binder, but I've used it on kids, young kids, all the way up to old adults with great success. It's probably my favorite one now. You can use charcoal and zeolites and things like that if you're more sensitive sometimes to get started. And I'm okay with that too. This Trifortify is glutathione. Glutathione is the body's master antioxidant. Amazing for the brain, amazing for the liver, great for methylation, which is how you protect yourself from chronic disease. And glutathione actually spits toxins out of the cells. So if you do a urine mycotoxin test, like we saw the kid do, we do glutathione beforehand to help you spit out all the toxins so we can catch them, so we know that they're. And lastly, TUDCA. Mold goes through the bile to get eliminated. TUDCA helps move your bile, so all those can be pretty cool. So all those are. So this is kind of our pathway we designed to help people. So, starting with feeling crummy, crappy, brain fog. You're not where you want to be. You're on the couch. You're not the best mom you could be. You're not the best spouse. And you want to feel good, right? So this dotted line here is usually like, hey, I'm going to try something. I'm going to try a few supplements, or I'm going to try a technique. And many times, what I found with these quick fixes, people kind of wind up where they were. I like to give people long lasting results. That's what we want. We want you up here, like, woo. And whether that's to run a triathlon, maybe it's just to build the business you want, maybe it's to be the most amazing mom or wife or dad you could be. But in order to get the foundation, we have to do some of these things like get things to leave, find out mold, heal your gut, balance the immune system. Once you do that, you create a new foundation for health. Pretty sweet. Where it's harder to slip back down. You've done the hard work. For people that like, hey, I got a little bit tonight. I need some more help, doc. Help me walk through with start to finish. Help me look at, okay, what's the right diet for me? Help me look at, okay, I know I've got this emotional stuff bogging me down. How do I work through this? I know I've been exposed to this, and this. I'm going to run these tests and figure out where exactly my problem is. That's where we're here to help. If that's something that is on your heart and you're looking for some kind of help. If not, if all you got tonight was a lot of good things to take home and use, awesome, awesome, awesome. This is just some of our team here. Of course, you know me. Olivia does a lot of our behind the scenes stuff. She actually sees patients also. She's amazing. She's brilliant. Stephanie in the green is our office manager. If you talk with her, you know how amazing she is too. Everyone's raved about her. And Kelly on the right, Kelly does all of our emotional, energetic, subconscious work to get people that are stuck in that fight or flight limbic mode of I can't heal, getting into I'm safe and my body can heal. Really cool stuff when we actually unlock the healing potential in the body. And yeah, these are just, we've got so many reviews online. It's just not to brag. It's again to show the power of the body. And if you're ready to put in the work, we're here to help you. And no matter what, we stick with you and try to figure this stuff out. So wow, that is what we had to go through tonight. We covered a ton of stuff. I hope you took notes. I hope you got a lot out of it. And I hope you can take advantage of those offers if it's something that's on your heart. If not, if all you got was what we learned about tonight, that's great too. I'm going to open it up here. All right, Jane, how's it going? We haven't chatted in a while. How's it going? Christina, hi. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. Um, can mold toxicity cause thyroid to stop functioning? So what happens in the brain? Remember if we talked about how the mold toxins can embed in the brain signals the thyroid, signals the adrenals, and all your other hormones in the body to do their job correctly. So many times, if those cytokines land on the receptors in the hypothalamus is like the air traffic controller for your hormones, for your thyroid and your adrenals. Many times, I've seen that the thyroid affected and the adrenals, of course, due to mold. So those are things like if we're looking at thyroid, adrenals, other hormones, I always go upstream to root cause. Those big three, it always comes back to that. Infections, emotions, and toxins. And I found if you can get those right, then man, a lot of times those things like hormones and gut and all the like brain chemistry and things like that really opens up much easier. Mold inspection company for St. Louis. So I use someone called Fungus Among Us. It's fungusamongus.online.com. All right. I've gone through a mold detox with a lot of those supplements, I assume. How do you know if it's cleared? Do you just have to retest? So some of that would be, have you tested your environment too? Do you have any tests that you had beforehand? If you did, you could retest to see like a urine test or the blood test or even the VCS test. You can redo the VCS test every month or two and see if you're progressing. The VCS test is easy. You can do it at home. It's $10. But yes, symptoms are a big way to tell if, how am I doing? Am I making progress? But gold standard would probably be those tests. I like a urine mycotox for that if you're rechecking just to see. But if you haven't done something like an ERMI test, you think you're exposed, at a minimum, I would do like an ERMI test. Okay, mold exposure when you're a teacher. Yeah, so many schools are loaded with mold. Actually, 85% of buildings in America, this is from the EPA, are estimated to have some kind of water damage. So schools are notorious for mold, unfortunately. I hate it for the kids. Then a portal classroom that flooded. Yes, yes, they did remediation but never retested. Shortly after that, I ended up with chronic migraines and gained 20 pounds. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so would it be better to take the course or work one on one? Totally up to you. And if you feel like, yes, I can take this and tweak things myself if needed, I can tweak dosages and I can tweak or add or take away things, you can do the course. If you feel like, hey, I really need, there's a lot of moving parts and I think there's more things at play here, then we can help go into more depth in that with you. But unfortunately, I see that all the time where, yeah, people get so sick. That's another thing too, where it's like all of a sudden I started feeling weird. Many times, hey, look for mold. Or if you're like, when I leave, I go on vacation, I go to town for 3, 4, or 5 days, I feel different, I feel better. Again, red flag, hey, it could be your environment causing you to be sick. Coffee enemas for detoxing. I love coffee enemas. Coffee enemas were one of the best things to get me started in the right direction to get me out of my toxic inflammatory cycle. And what it does, it opens up the liver and gut all at once to dump those toxins. And you can do them at home, very easy. Truly unable to get out of the environment, like a workplace exposure, that's very difficult. So you can get, um, of course, there are legal things around this too. It just depends if you want to stay. Yeah, you can also try to clean up your environment as much as you can with air purifiers. That's a big one. Keeping windows open as much as you can. And then doing a lot of this work to make sure you're detoxifying, draining, and binding these things up in order to get them out. Another thing is sauna. I absolutely love sauna for people that can tolerate it. Um, my people that sweat through sauna do so much better. So that's another great one. Want to know more about MCS? So are you talking about multiple chemical sensitivity or MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome? Multiple chemical sensitivity is you're very sensitive to many different things. Okay, chemical. Yeah. So and that's different. I would look at your total toxic load, whether that be from heavy metals, plastics, glyphosate, or mold. I'd probably start there. Clear those out, and then kind of work from there. Temp for sauna, it really depends. With people, I start low and slow and work up, starting with 130, 15 minutes or so. If you can tolerate it, you shouldn't feel worse after a sauna. If you feel worse or just wiped, you did too much, you stressed your body too much because sauna is a hormetic stressor in the body. If you can tolerate it, detoxify, and then rebound, awesome. Same thing with exercise. So a lot of people with mold issues, they got this. Many times exercise can make them worse because their body can't handle much. But yeah, starting with 130, and you can increase the time and the temp as you go up and if you can tolerate more. Sarah, you said coffee mold. Are you asking if people can tolerate the mold in coffee or avoid coffee and mold? The mold test again, where you're talking about the different ones are urine mycotoxin test. The at-home one is the VCS visual test. And the blood work, I call it the CIRS test, CIRS, blood work test. But those are the main ones that I use. Can mold stick to furniture from being moldy house over 10 years? Absolutely. This is a big one. If you have mold in your home, of course, you want to remove the physical mold. Let's say it's in drywall. You're cutting out the drywall at least a foot around outside the mold. You're taking it, you're physically removing it. But you can still have, again, mold spores, mycotoxins that have been elsewhere. You want to make sure your ducts are cleaned. That's a big one because that's the lungs of your house. It will push those all over the place. That's a big one. But then, yeah, any other porous material. This really depends on how sensitive you are. If you're very sensitive, you may have to ditch the furniture, especially couches and rugs and carpet like that, because those harbor so many mold spores and mycotoxins. Urine mycotoxin test, I use Vibrant for that, but I've used other ones too. Genova's good too. The Great Plains, good too. But I just use Vibrant because I use their other tests also for things like Lyme. So I like that company quite a bit. Okay, these are all great questions, guys. Great, great questions. Okay, Sarah, I hope you got your testing questions there. I hope that helped. Okay, anyone else have anything they want to add? Or Olivia, did I miss anything before we send these great people on their way? Um, yeah, mold can stay in the body for decades if you cannot properly move it, if you can't get rid of it. So that's why some of the stuff I've seen people, they were exposed when they were a kid and now they're 30, 40, and they're still having issues. So, man, I love helping people unlock this so they can live their life again, so they can feel like themselves. I know how terrible it is to feel like that. Like you can't function. Working with us, the process is usually we'll have you fill out some pretty extensive paperwork and questionnaires because we're looking at a lot of different places. Thank you, Olivia, for posting that. Um, Julie and Sarah, if you want to look at that link there, it goes over our whole process, what it looks like, what to expect, and the different offerings that we have too. But um, yeah, many times we're looking in different places, so questionnaires, paperwork, and I want to see any previous lab work you've had, anything you've done, and then we sit down for an hour, hour and a half, and go over everything. And then from there, we can see if we're going to run more tests or if we're creating a whole new game plan for you, and then following up with you as we go. So I hope that helps. Yeah, many times I've seen Sarah, you don't have any blood work, and that's okay because many times I've had see people go to their conventional doc or their PCP or sometimes even their functional doc, and they run like a standard blood panel, maybe CBC, CMP, lipid panel, and it looks fine. So the doc's like, you're completely healthy, and we know, and you know now, there's other places to look for that to see if that's an issue. So yes, great, guys. So the hour is almost up, and I can't believe we squeaked it along this well. This has been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed having all of you. Thank you so much for sticking with us here. Appreciate all of you. Sending lots of love and blessings. Hopefully, you can take a lot of the stuff, use it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, or we'll send you emails with follow up stuff too. All right, guys, enjoy. Have an amazing, amazing night.